Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, and what a podcast it's going to be this week. I'm Garrett, joined as always by Kyle. On a scale of snowballs to giant waves coming out of the core, how excited are you right now?
That's an odd scale.
Okay, I bet on a scale of freezing ground effects and all the tornadoes you thought you would never see in this game, how hyped are you at this moment?
Okay, all right. I'm pretty damn excited. Garrett, we had a certain interview some time ago with one balance designer, AZ Jackson, where we said, wouldn't it be cool if cores were a little more rocking? And he said, something very, classic. Well, we're worried about game time increase, And then we proceed to be like, yeah, I know, but, and grill him on the subject. And I just want to say, AZ Jackson, you sly dog, you did excellent. He was fully aware of this coming in, and he defended himself fabulously. We had no idea.
Your media training, if you had any, worked very well. Whoever's doing media training over there, and also your own ability to keep the strongest of poker faces while being grilled by these two morons is amazing. Well played. Grandmaster level poker face, AZ Jackson. Yes. Grandmaster level poker face. What a freaking week to be a Heroes of the Storm fan. If you somehow missed it, everybody, there's a massive update on the PTR. We are going to talk about all of it today. Today's entire episode is about the PTR patch. Nothing else, because there's so much to talk about. It's going to be the entire show. Before we get into that, we want to thank those of you that are making the show possible, our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/ITN. You are legitimately helping us pay our rent in a time where it's a little more difficult than usual to find things like sponsors. So thank you very much for the support.
Yes.
And if you're interested, you like the show, you got an extra $1 or $2 you'd like to kick our way, we got plenty of perks for you over there, like access to the patron-only Discord and sign-ups for our Patron Bonanzas, where we play games of Heroes of the Storm with you. So go check it out. And to some of our more recent patrons, thank you so much to Jordan Hickey, Eric Crawford, and Thomas Ben. We really appreciate it. Also, patrons, you allow us to pay our guests, and we'll be exercising that ability next week, where Not Paradox will be joining us.
That's right. So this episode will be first impressions, including the Tassadar rework, but we'll take it down a level. We'll get real serious next week with Not Paradox on the show.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Or take it up a level. You know what I mean.
Kick it up a notch, or I believe that's a trademarked phrase.
Can we not? Oh, because of the hot dog man?
I don't know if he's a hot dog man, but we'll just move on from it and say, what's even better than that is having so much news. It's going to be the episode. So let's get into it. This week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes. I'd mana tap that.
I would too, Kael'thas. Nexus Anomaly, a call for help, has been announced, and the patch is now playable on the Heroes of the Storm PTR, which I honestly thought I hadn't installed on my new computer yet, but it turns out it was installed, and I just needed to update it.
It also steals files, so it copies files over, so it's not that big of an install. It's worth checking out, because a lot's going to be changing. And, ooh, Nelly, let's just dive on in here. It's called a call for help because the towers, forts, keeps, and cores are going to be getting a little mad at you if you're attacking their allies.
Yes, and even if they're, and in any other scenario, if they're hitting you, they're hitting harder. They're doing a stacking armor debuff. There's so much to chew on here. So let's start with cannon towers, forts, keeps, and cores, because that's where they started in their patch notes. The TLDR on this is that structures targets are easier to see because they've got a new lock-on beam graphic. There's like a little beam if it's targeting minions, and there's a much brighter beam if it's targeting a hero, making it abundantly clear that this tower is about to lay in on you. And that's really important because now structures are going to aggro you if you are attacking an enemy hero within their range. So I'm looking at you. Yeah, you Illidan players, Genji players, particularly saucy variants that think they can just walk in and pop a bunch of immunity BS and kill things and walk out. Your days are numbered. They're numbered, Kyle. These keeps are very angry. The structures are very angry now. They want to protect their friends, their friendly players that are on their team, and they change targets instantly.
Yeah,
and we're gonna talk about a Tassadar rework much later in the show. If you've got any ability, like say Psionic Storm, that just kind of sits there and does damage, if an enemy hero walks into that and you're in range of a structure, guess what? You're now being targeted because you've done damage to a hero, even though you've left a ground effect and maybe you weren't expecting them to do that. Keep your eyes open is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's some serious quirks here. The flat numbers are that the damage to heroes is increased by 10%. So we're not looking at increased lane clear. You'll still be able to get those XP orbs in the same time you'd expect. That's not changing, though the attacks can reduce hero armor up to -40. Cannon towers do -5. Forts and keeps do -10, but they no longer slow. What this creates is a picture that in the past, and this is where the real bad feeling came from, a CC hero could not defend a building because he simply received no help and had no damage. A bunch of damage heroes could defend a building. And so there was sort of this weird like disconnect with how our buildings were feeling. Now a solo ETC can actually hold off and probably succeed in making that defense.
I mean, at the
most, as you mentioned,
at the most base level, like things have gotten better for defending and a lot more complicated for attacking structures. Right? Because I don't think the damage dealers are at a deficit now if they're defending. Because that armor debuff stack that we talked about, that's great. If you're there, you don't have CC, but you can do damage. Awesome. The enemy hero that's pushing on your fort now has an armor debuff, potentially a massive armor debuff. Although I will say, as many hits as it takes to get to -40, you may have just died from taking shots at a certain point, depending on what your life bar was at.
But as you mentioned with the AoEs, there's some crazy things going on. Like if you choose to blizzard a building, it would now be the correct choice for you as the solo defending ETC to go on and stick a little toe in that blizzard, get hit. So it gets real mad at Jaina. And this defender's advantage outside of just team fighting, which is going to be huge. You already mentioned it. The right play to do really with things like a Nubarak is to dive, have summons back you up, get in on those enemies' heroes, kill them when they think they're safe. That's not going to work anymore because a Nubarak's going to stun an enemy and it's going to get mad at him. But also when you are laning versus someone like a Sonya and she goes spinning in up on your tower, completely wrecking the lane, all you got to do is get on out there, take a little bit of damage from the whirlwind, and those buildings are going to back you up immediately, both of them, if they're in range.
Yeah. It's a decision to be made, right? Like if you want to take a little bit of damage on defense to game the targeting of the structures, which I rather like. I like that type of interplay. By the way, did we mention that they're doing 10% more damage now? Cannon towers, forts, and keeps. Okay, cool. I missed that. Whatever the case is, all of this is really cool. And those armor reducing amounts for towers and keeps, 5 or 10. That's stacking. Like it's not like they hit that and that's as far as they can go. It's more about how quickly they can get you up to that maximum of a 40% armor or a 40 armor reduction. So obviously forts and keeps going to get you there a lot faster. How do you feel about attacking on this, Kyle? I know you've been getting away a little bit from tanking, but there is, I think, some like legitimate concern coming from a good place about the idea of like leading a push into a structure as a tank. Like how are we doing that now? What's the smart way to do that without just getting targeted down?
Yeah, the really shaky thing is going to be those summon heroes. Summons are extremely dangerous for you, the hero, right now. And let's not only think about a Nubarak, because his beetles, they tend to fart off. Let's talk about something like Zagara or Nazebo. If you are dealing damage to a hero, let's put an extreme situation on this. You are Zagara bottom lane, and you throw a Hydra on your lane opponent, and you Nidus up to top. That Hydra is making the enemy structures mad at you. And if you get in range of that top lane, those towers will be pissed off.
Whoa, okay, all right. Let me throw another one at you. I'm Asmodean bottom lane, and I globe someone middle lane. Am I getting attacked now?
It's mad at you until you leave tower range.
That is wild. I didn't realize that's how... I mean, it makes sense, honestly. I have no question as to why it behaves that way. But it was something I did not think about. Now, granted, those case scenarios are going to be few and far between. All the Asmodean mains out there are just like, oh, come up. They're losing their minds. But yeah, it's very rare that I on my Zagara leave a Hydra in one lane and have now moved to another lane and also gotten in range of structures fast enough for that to really matter.
But in that case, let's say you are Nazebo pushing in the classic style you've always done it, where you throw a zombie wall on top of the building to do max damage. You get out your Gargantuan, and one hero shows up, and you throw some spiders at them. That'll make it mad at Nazebo.
Are you going to get into what, like poison ticks? Like spiders are gone, but the poison is still ticking?
That is true as well. So for Lunara, and Lunara seemed particularly upset about this, it's one thing to think we're all going to have to change our play as tanks. That takes a whole team. That takes the village. We need to go in, we get CC, hopefully someone backs us up, otherwise nothing happens, even in tower range, of course. But Lunara would use Leaping Strike to go over the top of a building and get in the back line and get wild because the thing was just ignoring her. If she deals any poison damage to anyone, anywhere on the map, hero-wise, those buildings are going to be mad and stay mad until you leave range. And turning off a building doesn't remove the madness at the moment. It keeps. So a bit of a different conversation there, but let's say you line up a easy peasy Gazlowe beam that turns off structures, but you have a turret in some distant land attacking a hero. You will turn off that building and it'll still be mad at you on the other side.
Okay, same would go for, say, Sylvanas,
Syndragosa. However, of course, we need to highlight those three heroes, Gazlowe, which is funny to kind of put in the limelight after so long, but Sylvanas and Arthas, because turning off buildings is going to be really, really good to make sure we can play aggressively as we've done in the past.
Yeah, because in the rundown of these changes in the PTR patch notes, it says that structures reset targeting logic when they recover from being disabled.
Which currently isn't the case, so that might be changing.
Okay, gotcha.
So in my own tests, I did not see that as an effect. Then again, I was in the sandbox mode. Who knows if sandbox and actual maps and custom maps are different than ranked maps? You know what I mean. Lots of things can happen in the PTR.
Yeah. It's also supposed to reset its targeting if the call for help target, so whoever was being damaged that caused the targeting priority to change in the first place, becomes invalid. So that would be something like a divine shield, yes?
That could be, or also let's say we all together, all five of us attack one hero. I hit first, so I have aggro. I leave. It then doesn't say, well, who made me mad after that? No, it says, okay, reset back to the order off the top of my head is objectives, summons, minions, and then heroes. So it would regain that normal order.
Gotcha. Well, with all of this, and that's just like one piece of all of this, but that's the one I think we're all going to notice right out the gate, and this is consistent across all of the battlegrounds, because what we're about to get into is different on almost every single battleground. Kyle, everything we just talked about, and I'll give you a little bit of an extra hint here, especially regarding the difficulty and considerations that need to be put in place of attacking into structures. Why do you think I am so excited about this?
Because they're rocking cores, and that's exactly what we asked for.
Oh, no. It had nothing about the cores. I am excited because I think ranged siege damage is going to be more important than it ever has been.
Oh, interesting. You're talking about overall with all these changes combined.
Yeah, just I think with the danger of pushing on, of trying to down structures, and the defense that will be mounted with these new rule sets in place. I think things like being able to drop a blizzard and walk away, or maybe a psionic storm, or maybe a bunch of roaches and a hydralisk, anything that can lock onto structures, and you don't need to actually be there physically as a player in range of getting hit by these structures, I think is going to be more important than ever. And I'm really excited about that because I'm me and I like solo laning.
So, oh man, that's not where my head goes, because where my head goes is Sylvanas, Arthas, Gazlo, and then following that, Hammer, and I don't really want to live in that world.
Well, I mean, you're just thinking about, I wasn't in the turning off structures zone with that, but you're absolutely correct. I miss Sylvanas, and I'm really excited to play her again following these changes. Matter of fact, it was the first damn hero I tried on PTR just to see how it felt, and it feels really powerful to be able to negate this new targeting priority system that's getting added. Hammer's pretty, that's a very specific tool to try and like combat this and game it. And what I wouldn't discount, there are very good hammers out there. Hammer can be very effective in the right hands. But yeah, as someone who just like wants to push down lanes and whatnot, I'm excited about just like my play style, how I like playing this game. And it also makes me like, let's just bring the specialist tag back and maybe lean more back into that again.
I'm really excited for my solo lane Thrall, who is very weak in the early game because my level 1 talent is all about stacking for the most part, and I'm letting them push into me, which means they're usually getting in some pretty decent tower damage, particularly those Sonyas. I am now able to mount a very good defense with my root to actually maybe even get the kill if they're making those game plays.
Yeah, that kind of stuff is really, really cool. I think
we need to focus on that. That's the big positive, is the defender's advantage. On the attacking side, I don't think I'm going to lead next season with tank. That is not my goal. This sounds extremely scary. I know I dive a lot, and reducing my own armor, these hits are big. You will go to half health before you know it. The armor reduction on the back end is really, really scary for those sort of games I play. And not all physical armors are equal right now. So your Rel has physical armor, Dauntless, level 1, whenever she casts an ability for a couple seconds after. That works on all physical damage, including structures. Johanna's Reinforce does not work on structures. It's only hero damage, but the text doesn't make that clear. So there are some heroes that might be able to game this system with their own armor and avoid it. Yrel having 50 armor, so only going to 10 in the case of the max stacks. That's okay to get wild in range of. Johanna can't, and those intricacies are going to be really hard to tell.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I mean, my first thought with all this in regards to tanking was, man, I just fell in love with the Nubarak again. And the thought of taking a Nubarak into this environment is terrifying to me.
It should be.
Yeah, it's scary. You know who's gonna kind of feel kind of awesome though is like Johanna. Is you gotta poke in there. You got an on-tap shield on your trait.
You could say the same for a Nubarak a little bit, but I get your meaning.
It's way sketchier being in a Nubarak with minus armor than a Johanna with minus armor.
Well, here's a situation too where I wait as Diablo for the wall to go almost down and then use the keep as my wall structure and charge in. That's a dead Diablo. Whereas previously, of course, some minions would walk in following. I'd be fine. Maybe I take one tower shot.
Or is it a Diablo that requires a lot more support babysitting than it previously did before? And is that an okay change of priorities?
I think it's all okay because this is a defender's advantage. It's weird when we think about things like Malfurion. Malfurion's healing all his allies. We're taking some damage and, let me just land a Moonfire and heal my... You just pissed off the building trying to heal your allies. That's spooky. But you're currently attacking, so defender's advantage. And this should build into a world where, again, objectives are stronger. And that's a success in my book. If you win a team fight, no longer will you win the game. You don't just win a team fight and then go running in because there's only one defender. You got to go do the objective so you can actually have the push power to get through all these buildings and the core with their special abilities.
I mean, that by that line of logic, not as powerful in a lot of cases, but still powerful is mercs. Like anything that gives you a leg up in your siege capability, right, is going to be worth a little bit more.
Yeah.
You may want to actually consider empowering our mercs or prepping the lane for our mercs now, which is something I think a lot of us don't bother thinking about. It's just a distraction while we try and go win objectives. But like, you know, mercs that are happening in an awkward time in between objectives might be a more interesting little mid-game power spike. I'm really interested.
It's about choices, not game knowledge, which is cool. It's tough to say where our skill ceiling is going with that, but knowing that Rhaegar's totem has target priority so your whole team can dive a building, was that natural? It felt good when you understood it. You got a kill that you otherwise wouldn't. Now that doesn't count. Now there's a whole choice structure about even going in there in the first place.
Yeah, and so now it feels like kind of a little bit the weirdness has been taken away from that type of thing. I don't know. It's placed more on the attacking side. Like we've been talking about this, the split between attack and defense. There's still weirdness because the way that the targeting system works and the way that it can be gamed by any source of damage that's currently out on the field, that is interesting. And I would say in the same category of weird as knowing that you could drop a totem to take some tower shots, right? It's something you and I have come back to time and time again when talking about this game since the very early days when we first came to it in the tech alpha, talking about the lack of last hitting, was that we like Heroes of the Storm because its mechanics make sense. Getting rid of last hitting makes it so that it's not the wrong call to kill a lane minion, which I always found very weird as someone that came to Dota very late in the game. It seems weird that it was wrong to kill something that was, you know, marching down the lane to me. And I think that kind of concept exists throughout the majority of the game of Heroes of the Storm. So this is interesting. This is and it does keep some weirdness. It just shifts it. But my initial reaction is that I really like that it kind of in the way that it is empowering defense. That just makes sense to me. It seems like in more cases than not, it's going to be a good call to defend, which I like, because it always seemed a little odd that in many cases it was the wrong call to defend. And I'm talking broadly here. We're not talking about I'm bottom lane, someone's pushing top lane. I still shouldn't go and get that at this point. I'm not going to get there in time. There still should be a call there made to maybe trade structures, but I don't want to get lost in all of that. Mostly, I'm really excited that defending is getting empowered.
Well, and these buildings, the forts and keeps, are losing their slow, which means that Vala Kael'thas solo defense, which is already bad to an extent, is maybe even worse in that way, depending on if there's minions in range or not in the live game as it is right now. I just love the fact that if an ETC mosh pits in, if a Leoric lands a full team in Tomb at the core, he can defend. That could be a victory and turn it around. It felt silly that something that extreme was counteracted. And you know what this is going to mean? It means we're just going to dive after the building's gone. We're going to push alongside our Punisher. Everyone's going to control themselves, auto attack the building. We'll get it down, and then you go nuts. Then you've got your blizzards on cooldowns and your splash attacks and all what have you. You may have to be very careful if you take a talent that now causes your auto attack to, let's say, beam onto multiple heroes. We'll talk about that later, because that'd make a very bad building. But that's fine. That's a tactical choice.
Am I blizzarding directly centered on the building? Am I flame striking directly centered on the building at this point?
Yeah.
It is crazy to think about this.
I mean, there is a wild world where, like, you know, flame strike being a more extreme version is kind of like off center of the building. So Vala vaults forward and she's like, I got you. Got hit by now it's mad at you.
Yeah. Obviously, like if you're trying to like kiss the building with your flame strike and clear a minion wave at the same time, like your mileage may vary. Is someone in range? Can they get in range of your flame strike at the same time? Like there's so many very quick calls that needs to get made that we're not really addressing here, but it would take forever to get through all of this. So I'm really excited about this, and we've barely scratched the surface here. Are you ready to get into the truly nutty edition with this call for help update?
I'm ready.
All right, let's move on to core abilities. And Kyle, you did something that I think is really cool. You listed them in our show notes in ascending order of how long the cooldowns were. So if you're watching on video, I'm going to be jumping around a lot to make sure I'm showing what we're talking about. But we're going to end up starting with Cursed Hollow because its core ability is on the shortest cooldown. And so what's happening, everybody, is every battleground core in the game is getting unique special abilities, except for Alterac Pass. Almost as if they agree with a certain podcast out there that the Alterac Pass core is kicking ass and taking names, and it would have been really cool if all of the other cores kind of got brought up to spec. Oh, and also probably, I didn't even think about it, Towers of Doom, that's not on here, right? That would make no sense.
No, yeah, the core doesn't do anything there. Yeah.
So there's another exception to that. But we're going to start with Cursed Hollow because its core ability is on a 3-second cooldown. So every 3 seconds, and this is while it's just heroes are in attacking range, because I played a few games and I don't think I ever noticed attacking minions with these special abilities.
Right. All of these have the caveat of a nearby hero. Tomb of the Spider Queen text says that it's Death Wave that shoots, which is the same ability as the Spider Queens themselves do. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily say hero.
Gotcha.
So it may be able to do its own lane clear in some cases.
That would be very interesting if that was the case. Anyway, so Cursed Hollow, what it's going to do is every 3 seconds, the core will spawn a curse under a nearby enemy hero. If they are cursed, they take 5% maximum health as damage, and their armor is reduced by 75 for 4 seconds, Kyle.
Yeah, man, you land that sweet Silence and Tomb, everyone's armor goes down by 75%, and you win the game.
Yeah.
Well, you have to push because, there might be forts and you might not win there. But yeah, hey, you made a cool defense.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Yeah, and this is I would put this under relatively small ground effect. I feel like about the size, slightly smaller than a non-empowered Flame Strike. It's about the size this felt to me. But every 3 seconds, like that's pretty quick. These are popping off at pretty regular intervals. If it's if it doesn't matter if it's a full core push or not. If it's one hero, it's going to keep popping under that one hero that's attacking core. So yeah, this is not one. I've only experienced 3 of these in person on PTR. This is not one of them, but it's very interesting. When I remember reading, I'm like, a curse. What do you click on it or something? What's going on here? But it's a ground effect. It's a purple ground effect. Don't stand in it. There's a lot, and I mean a lot of don't stand in the poop going on with these core abilities. So let's move on to Blackheart's Bay because it's a 4-second ability. So is Braxis, by the way. But Blackheart's Bay, every 4 seconds, the core is going to shoot a cannonball at 2 nearby enemy heroes. If it hits, it does 5% maximum health as damage, and it slows them by 70% for 1.5 seconds and knocks them back. That's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Damage, major armor reduction. Or sorry, not major armor reduction. I'm looking at the wrong. No, sorry. Major slow and a displacement.
So, the immediate concern of the community, of course, is that trolling. If you're winning too hard, you're going to jump in these cannon bolts, get knocked back slow because you just want to ride the crazy ride.
Let's not add cool things, Kyle, because you might be able to troll with them.
I agree. At 5%,
I don't want them adding that train mount in the game, Kyle, because when I see everyone riding on it, I feel trolled.
Oh yeah, because
I don't want. I think they should take away sprays, Kyle, because anytime anyone sprays, I feel trolled.
Oh,
I think they should get rid of the Hearthstone animation, Kyle, because anytime anyone hearths, I feel trolled.
It's a balancing act. What really interests me about these abilities is that they have launch or cast times. The cannon on Blackheart's Bay fires much like your normal cannons do and shows a radius on the ground that's going to pop in. Brax's Holdout fires 5 mini missiles from the core, dealing 5% maximum health as damage. That's not terribly scary, but the extreme heroes that benefit from standing still, like Bala, Zul'jin, who end games early, are in the most trouble. And all of these combine in my mind to mean, let's not go core, let's go get the objective done. And I don't think game time is going to be overall affected by a more rocking core here. And that really, if anything, it might be affected positively. We're not going to have those. Well, Illidan's still going to get on your core and go because he'll dodge everything. Sonya will still keep spinning. Those sort of heroes aren't really affected by these.
No, and to a certain degree, I mean, Zul'jin, I'm getting hung up on your specific example, but like a Vala that's already in the stutter stepping sweet spot because she has to avoid the core is already ready to avoid resurrecting heroes. Now Zul'jin, okay, yeah, he's kind of having a rough time. He can't stutter step nearly as elegantly, but
no, and he'll take max health as damage, which, you know, you may actually win on Zul'jin in some cases, like Braxis here. But our heavy CCs, like our 5-seconders, like Garden of Terror, shoots out a seed that when it explodes, you are polymorphed for 3 seconds. That will change a game.
Again, you know, we've had so little time with this, but so all of this is first impression. But my first impression is, and this is, you know, I'm sure everyone remembers if they've been listening even for a little bit, I was pretty apprehensive to the original XP orb change. I wasn't the biggest fan in the world. And some listeners were very quick to be like, oh, Garrett just hates change. And like, that's not really it. I wasn't in love with that particular change, the way it behaved. But this is the type of change that I do like. Like, yeah, it is going to upset the balance, but to a certain degree, I think that's the point. I think it was the point with the XP orb change as well. It's just that I didn't necessarily agree with it. This one, like, my gut feeling is I like the way that this is upsetting the apple cart.
It should be solid. To sort of zoom through some of the other ones, you got Dragonshire that's shooting boulders, and if they hit, you are stunned. If you're on Volskai, it's going to shoot rocket fists. So a lot of these are reused assets, which is perfectly fine and very tactical by the team. Battlefield of Eternity and Infernal Shrines have the same thing. They're going to shoot frozen orbs out, as you know them from the Punisher. Going to cause roots. Hanamura is going to shoot missiles all around, very much along the size of Warhead Junction boss. So lots of little circles. Dodge them if you can. And Warhead Junction just shoots a straight up nuke every 18 seconds. At a nearby hero. And Sky Temple is probably the wackiest one. 23-second cooldown on this, but it spawns 6 tornadoes. Not one like the boss does, 6 of them. And honestly, when you see all these things together.
2 sets of 6.
Yeah. This is like half the circle. It is spinning around the entire thing, making this zone. That's going to be chaos. But guess what? The objective kills buildings. So I do feel like they made very tactical choices here in making sure that if the map finishes itself in that way, you can just go win in another style. If you, let's say, are, you know, all Zul'jinned up and everyone's really slow moving and going to have trouble getting in there.
So by that logic, do they also not take Warhead Junction seriously like we don't? Because the 18-second nuke just seems a little ridiculous and like a long enough breadth between them that it's not that impactful.
It's still a normal size nuke. You know, you may force people to run into a keep range or something like that, right? And of course, you're going to be battling and you might be pissing off the buildings and whatnot. It's a fine ability. I don't think they're joking here.
No, that's the only one that stands out to me as a little insane. I had the same thought with Sky Temple. I think that's extremely cool that it appears they're upping the defense on the Sky Temple core because it's okay. It's a battleground where you can end without ever having to even get in range of the core.
Well, and what's really interesting about the Sky Temple ability here is that it is a primarily CC ability. It deals 25 damage per second, something you're not going to be scared of, but this can counter your Juice Pirates in a sense. So Tyrael, Medevac, Raynor, all that sort of business goes flying in on your core. If it was just flat 5% damage, they don't care. But a bunch of CCs going around, that might have an effect. And I really do think they put a lot of thought into each one of these abilities and why it is the way it is.
Yeah. What was the first one you saw in person?
The first one I saw in person is Volskaya, which shoots the rocket fists.
And how did that feel? Like the first time you just saw that come out?
It's very targeted. You are going to see, in fact, it kind of makes you wish you could see it out of something like Tomb of the Spider Queen objective. You get to see a full-blown, red carpet rolled out. This is where the missile or thing is going to shoot. Get ready. All right, here it comes.
All right, you
very easy to dodge.
This is in the exact direction that I was kind of trying to goad you into, which is like the first one I played was a Tomb of the Spider Queen game, and it does the wave that the objective casts out, but it gives you a big long red marker of where it is about to go and how far it will go and how wide it is. And like I saw that first like warning, the grid line show up and go, oh damn, like it felt like a big moment. And I know it's been a while for you, but you used to play a lot of World of Warcraft. Dude, this feels like WoW bosses. The cores are all now World of Warcraft bosses because all of these effects are telegraphed so you can move accordingly, but they hurt and they are effective and they will likely cost you your life if you screw up. And it feels like fighting a WoW boss, and I think it is so freaking cool.
I really can't get over the idea that a mosh pit at a core can turn something around. That feels so right to me. I'm so happy to have these abilities. The damage isn't as important, but you knock them back, you stun them, you polymorph them, people get rezzed out, they come at you. Some of these cooldowns are ridiculously short, and you're going to have to be stutter stepping, or you go and, get the objective and win normally. I guess the only one that's really not going to help you out there is maybe Cursed Hollow, right? Cursed Hollow is kind of nuts because the curse has never affected the core. So it'll just be rocking every 3 seconds no matter what. Maybe you'll go get some mercs. Or I guess you have 2 bosses. You can go take a boss. It's fine. And now that they favor targeting heroes, that is a conversation to have. So there is a disagreement in the community whether or not summons and bosses should have priority over heroes because the buildings need to help clear those things out. And that's fair. If they're reducing armor, in the case of keeps, towers, and forts, those are going to help clear out our bosses and our punishers and whatnot. But at the same time, you can't dive with those bosses. You can't get as crazy just because a boss or objective is there. And I like that defender's advantage. Now the Punisher is going to feel like he's going even more wild, even more of a free agent. That boss is all about push rather than us playing games and trying to get people into the stun of the boss.
Yeah, I'm okay with all of this because it only, like, those concerns really, truly only apply to the core. And that's good in my mind because what you and I have been talking about for over a year now is that the core just structures in general are not that threatening. And the core really should be. Because what are we talking about here, Kyle, when we're talking about dodging all of these abilities? Like, what does it sound like to you? It sounds like we're talking about strategy for fighting around the immortals or taking a boss. And the danger that comes with it because of the area of effect abilities. So now we get to take all of the skill and strategy that we know about fighting around bosses and immortals and just apply that to fighting around the core. And yeah, it's a little different depending on what core it is that you're fighting. But I think that's good. I think like pushing on the core should be a scary thing. And I love that you brought up Cursed Hollow because yeah, you're right. The objective doesn't really help you with the core, but that's good. You need to end the game like on your own merit. It's on you and your team and your ability to fight as a cohesive unit and not you clicked on 3 things. Good job. I'm really okay with that.
Fascinating stuff. It's going to change. All this is going to change how we play dramatically. And I am definitely going to the drawing board with my roster for this next one.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Oh God, I hope we're going to talk about a minor Zol nerf. I hope it works. I want to get some solo laners on, and I haven't been able to play my solo laners. So, just open season right now. Everyone's got a solo laner now. It's so weird. I'm not used to this. But yeah, so that's. I mean, we pretty much talked about all the abilities there.
That's call for help.
Before we get to some heroes like a Tassadar rework. I want to talk about the being able to favorite your talents, like favorite your builds, because this is just a nice little quality of life change I did not expect to see coming. Was this anywhere on your radar as, oh, this will totally hit the game soon?
No, this was just one of those things that has been asked for a really long time and disappeared into memory.
Yeah, so this is really cool. So now you can like favorite talent builds. They will not pick the talents for you, but much the same way where we're at a game, so you can go to your profile and like make like your favorites roster. You know, you can pick your favorites. You can put your toys out, like your favorite toys up on the shelf. Now, like when you're in between games, you're gonna be able to like highlight your favorite talents. And you can save 3 of them. So you can have like 3 different favorited builds, and you can select which one you would like to be highlighted in the next game that you go into. And you can do this in the draft screen, which I love because I do tend to like some of my builds, I change based on the comp. Some of the builds I change based on the map. And now I can choose it willy-nilly based on the map that I'm going into.
There's also a really cool feature where after a match is over, if you're looking at a profile or just the talent screen, you can say, wow, what a cool Imperious play. I've never tried that build. Copy, paste into my own favorites.
Well, you can copy and paste it?
Yeah. So if I want to be in the chat, you and I are chatting, or I'm in the A-Move chat /join A-Move TV, and someone says, hey, what do you run on Nazebo? I can copy, paste in there, and I can also copy what they have and into my build. So no longer are we going, what's the website? Get me a link. Oh my God, can I copy, paste that? Oh, I can. Okay, back to the wait, I need to tab website. Do you have 2 monitors? No, I don't have 2 monitors because I run a dual stream setup. You know, that is gone.
We have been doing this in Hearthstone for years, and it's amazing. I didn't know. I completely glazed over that fact. I didn't know you could like share these builds easily. That's great. That is so good. Very happy. Oh, dude. Oh, you have me even more excited.
It's a nice thing. Good on them for adding it.
Yeah. It's, I'm so excited about this. So, it was here in the notes. I was poring over core abilities, and I was just like, oh, that's nice. I'll just play with it on the PTR. I didn't realize I could save it.
Now, there's no limit on this. If you want to do all 3 builds with the first, 3 talents all being the same, but you like to vary your late game talents based on some sort of situation, you can change in game. Change those little hearts around by clicking your 1 through 3 and going to your other build.
Yeah. Rad. And then we got some changes to matchmaking for GM and Masters, which, I'm really concerned about this. It's going to affect me in a major way, Kyle. That was a joke. So anyways, but we've been chronicling these issues for a while. We very recently talked about these issues with McIntyre, someone who does affect on the regular. But Master and GM players are no longer restricted to queuing with only 1 player. That is going to be going away with a new update. And also Masters and GMs are no longer restricted to queuing with players who are within 5,000 or who are within 5,000 ranked points, which is a major change to the way it currently works.
So, they've made changes to the matchmaking rules that should improve the quality of matches for Masters and Grandmaster players. This is the mystery part. We don't know what those changes are. There is a bit of the dev comment here where they say, the limit for queuing as a party will require players to be within 2 leagues of each other, with diamonds able to queue with Masters and Grandmaster players. We could make reactions to this right now, but we don't know what that 3rd statement I named earlier is. If they're basically saying that we are going to take all the high-level players we can and put them in games and no longer do our balance sort of thing, that's grand. Just get as many skilled people in the top-end games as you can. Get those ranks together. I don't know what that means, though. And so are we solving a problem? Well, we're fixing one. We're fixing the Smurf issue, which is people say, wait, I want to play in a 3-stack, or I want to play with my friend who's not Masters. I'm going to make a Smurf. And that has made Diamond and, well, all leagues, but, all leagues have been chaos because of the Smurf business. High-end players who play a lot of solo, such as Fan, have mentioned, though, that allowing anybody to queue together in Master and Grandmaster is just going to be a stomp fest because I'm on a solo team now at a huge disadvantage. So as quote unquote, there goes any semblance of rank mattering again.
I mean, if that's how it works out, do you think one way is better than the other?
I think we want Grandmasters and Masters to be on their main account. I believe this is the step in the right direction.
That's where I lean. Yeah, like whatever does the most to alleviate smurfing is generally positive in my eyes.
Yeah. If there is 5 Grandmasters playing together, it does get messy when you're talking about now boosting. This is the balancing act, right? Do we smurf or do we have boost? And boosting here would be that Grandmasters team up with a Diamond player and then drag them into Masters with them. My opinion on 5 stacking has always been that matchmaking doesn't matter. If you're a 5 stack and you lose to a 5 stack, well, you should have been better. The game didn't have to help you. It's nice that it does, though, because that's fun. That's a good experience. I don't want to grab my core guy friends and jump in a 5 stack and have a bad time.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to see what this final statement is. They've also made a change where they are basically, if your internet is strong enough, they are marrying together the 2 US servers, which means that if you've picked best match, this was already happening. If you're picking a certain server, it'll ignore that if your internet's strong enough. Which leads me to believe that this third statement, again, is we're just going to grab all the Masters and Grandmasters we can, throw them in a pile, which is so much better than what's happening now.
Interesting things for sure. Like to get McIntyre on again. Like to get his thoughts. I'm sure we'll hear very soon, but it's a really unique issue.
For sure. I believe in my heart that most people are malicious. Most people want to play with friends. There are outliers that go, I want to smurf to beat easier people because it gives me joy. Those are few and far between.
I share that sentiment. If anyone's being malicious, it's... Never mind. Nope.
Ooh,
nope.
Tell me after the show.
Oh, yes. Let's move on to a big ol' fat rework that's been teased forever. Tassadar, Kyle. Tassadar's rework is coming. There's so much here, I don't think we can really do it justice. We certainly cannot go point by point. But what we can do is at the very least start with the base kit, how that is changing. Tassadar is becoming an assassin now.
No longer under support. Range assassin.
Yeah. It's that's the direction this is going. That's the goal of this rework. So, the trait on Tassadar is changing. It's called Resonance Beam. Tassadar's basic attack is a long-range channel beam that deals 14 energy every quarter of a second and slows its target for 10%. While channeling, your basic attack damage and mana regeneration increases by 25% a second to a maximum of 100% bonus, which is pretty rad. And then when it's fully charged, you gain an additional 3 mana per second. This bonus is lost after 6 seconds of not channeling.
So he Void Rays. He locks on. Over time, it builds into power, and this can change, and you'll have a 6-second timer right there by your health. That'll let you know if you currently have the stack. Lots of talents affect whether you're at max stackage of this beam or not, such as Plasma Shield at level 4, while Resonance Beam is fully charged, gain a shield equal to 3% of your max health per second, stacking to 15. So if Tassadar is left alone to auto-attack things, it'll do quite a bit of damage, and it'll supply him lots of mana regeneration.
Yeah. I've exclusively tried auto attack build on the PTR, and oh my god, man, it's crazy. But before we get into that, let's get into basic abilities. His Q is now Shock Ray, a new ability. There's a slight wind up, less than half a second. Then you channel a fast-moving electric beam that deals 280 damage and slows all enemies in a line by 25% for 2 seconds. You can't move during those 2 seconds. And there's also that slight wind-up. So you're left a little exposed during this, and it goes in a straight line. So if people are reading into your telegraph, there is counterplay to this. It's also on a 7-second cooldown. But that's some decent burst damage. You know what it reminds me of? I figured you would have had an actual guess. Kira's heroic.
I have my own answer, but I want to hear yours.
Kira's heroic.
Okay. Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like, because it's like a breathe in and then big frontal attack.
I love where they took their inspiration from. The Legacy of the Void cinematic, where the High Templar does this to a line of Zerglings running at him.
Oh, nice.
Literally summons a ball of lightning and sort of whips it, drags it over its enemies.
Oh, you're totally right. I forgot about that. The Legacy of the Void intro cinematic is absolutely incredible.
And same with the way they've reanimated Psionic Storm. It comes down from space. It's sort of a up and then down slam, and then it explodes into lightning on the ground. They really did a cool job making him feel unique, making him the psionic lightning mage. We even have a lightning mage in Mephisto. This is a very unique look for him. He is currently, when you go to actual heroes, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of Range Assassins because he's OG as you get. He is in alpha. So he is the original release, now a mage, now a range assassin.
Yeah. And there's also Force Wall. Not a heroic. Basic ability on your E key. A half-second delay, you do your Force Wall. Lasts for 2 seconds. Costs 20 mana. On a 21-second cooldown. So that's a pretty damn long cooldown for a basic ability. But it is still... It's freaking Force Wall.
Yeah, it's Force Wall.
It was such a part. It felt like such a key part to Tassadar's kit. And now I feel free to take Archon, which is wonderful, which is still here. Has been changed around a bit, but it's still here. Works more or less the way you remember it.
Yeah, you can do level 20 Force Barrier to increase the range by 50%, increase the duration by 0.5 seconds, and reduce its cooldown by 10 seconds. But that still leaves you with 11 seconds, or basically 8 seconds of downtime from a wall. So it is much improved and much less oppressive. Plus, let's not forget that if you do a Force Wall and you are using it to block a gate, no one might be able to go in there because these buildings are all mad. So all of our tomfoolery of the past might be reined in with Force Wall as well.
Yeah, but no more go invisible and escape for Tassadar. No more Oracle. Although I think
on the base kit.
It survives. That survives as a talent. And he gets a similar go invisible survive talent. It's up against Oracle at level 13. If you're looking to get some of that old functionality back. And we haven't talked about the new heroic, Black Hole. You literally throw a black hole, Kyle, and it travels in a line, and it pulls anyone you hit with it into it for a while, but it'll eventually outpace them and drop them again. But it is quite the the hiccup, like the displacement tool. Yeah,
it definitely reminds of the mothership from StarCraft, the old toilet, as they call it.
I wish it just sucked them up into it.
Yeah, but that's Zarya's thing, that's her thing.
No, I mean remove them from the game. Like imagine you threw them into Nidus and then the Nidus scooted along a path. That's what I kind of want this to be. I want if you pass through the center, I want you to just get sucked in and you are now you can't fight for 2 seconds and then it pops you back out of the black hole.
I mean, without Force Wall in tow, we have a couple of rather tame slows going up to 35% on most talents. Black Hole reminds me of Orphea. This is where you can say, I want the damage heroic, or I want the damage CC heroic. So I expect we'll all be going Black Hole on release, and then as time goes on, we'll make our split, just like we've done with Orphea. We see both heroics regularly.
Yeah, and it's a 70-second cooldown. It's not that bad on Black Hole. And Archon's on 90, so it's not like these are the worst cooldowns in the world. A little bit up there. So overall, dude, I mean, what do you think? Are you excited about Tassadar? Because like I said, I play quite a few games chasing the auto attack build which I just found unbelievably fun. If you're like taking all of the auto attack talents, it feels extremely powerful. And you do want to stand and deliver. You would like the channel as much as you possibly could. That's not always going to be the case. But the way that your beam being charged up works, and there's like now a graphic that lets you know that it's fully charged up, and then like it's pretty easy to still stutter step and keep your beam fully charged. It didn't feel that bad. It didn't feel that as dangerous as I expected it to feel, because I could make micro adjustments to my positioning.
But we no longer have the phase out ability that allowed us to stand in those prolonged moments of auto attack edge. So I think it will have its limits. When you get to more of a mage Tassadar, it's extremely buzzy. It reminds me of Gul'dan or Mephisto in that way. There's going to be a lot of effects. And if you go full-blown Psionic Storm build, there's just going to be a lot of Psionic Storms everywhere. Whether or not that equals a kill is hard to tell on the PTR. It's going to equal a lot of damage. Tassadars are going to finish the game with a nice number. They're not Kael'thas's or Jaina's, though, where that number is more tame, but they're executing one target quick. And I think that's a healthy place to put him. I fully expect that if you are a mage main this next season, you're going to struggle in getting that pick because people are going to want to play Tassadar. And then when they don't get Tassadar, they'll do their next mage pick. And then mages usually play off support. So leave those areas open and look to fill others if you're looking to expand your roster in this time.
But Kyle, there's an option of builds. You ask the Tassadar, are you AA or are you abilities?
I mean, that's true. I don't know.
We got a variant problem on our hands, dude. You got to ask the Tassadar what they're building.
A little bit. He does get all that mana, though. He's going to be about casting spells. I think Shock Ray at 280 damage is going to be a lot. And that's where the majority of his power is going to come from. If that means that he is good at teams that are going to run in straight lines, if he wants to catch them while they're running away, I'm not sure how that's going to play out yet. It's a very interesting kit, though, and I expect that we will have some tomfoolery with it. There's a level 20 talent called Kala's Gift, where you're basically deckered for spell power. Gain 4 spell power for yourself and each nearby ally here up to 20. Your total bonus is shared with all contributing allies. Level 20 is a long way to go. You can only give shields to yourself in the case of your auto attack talent there. So you're not comboing with a Tracer or a Vala or doing that sort of old biz. Things have changed. But you have this extreme late game and along the way, spell armor reduction talents that can mean Tassadar might be the perfect grab for a team that accidentally picks 2 mages, let's say. And then everyone goes, well, we got to throw a Tassadar on this to make sure we have maximum power. And of course, let's save ourselves some YouTube and email comments. Yes, of course, spell power does mean healing power, and giving your healer 20% healing power at level 20 is going to be quite the power as well.
And do you think we're going to be hitting 20 a little more often with all of these structure changes?
We might. We very well could. But we're going to end games in different ways, maybe in objective pushes rather than team fights. So it's tough to say whether or not 20s will have the same impact they currently do.
Well, I look forward to getting into your game as an auto attack Tassadar and you being like, why are there so many storms on the map? And I'll be like, because I went AA build and I'm proccing random Psionic Storms.
All right, well, just be careful because you might take the level 1 quest where you cause your beam to split. You might cast random Psionic Storms that make buildings very angry, and you're going to have to get all the way up to level 13 to get Shadow Walk. You know, hats off to Shadow Walk, too. That's a nice little reference to Tassadar and his whole lore power, but it's a long road, and that Shadow Walk is not our old phase shift. You are unrevealable stealth, so you're invisible, and you have movement speed and 25 armor, but that you're not invincible. You are no longer walking out of all the abilities.
Yeah, that's an important distinction to make for sure. But I mean, we are all going to have to be careful with our damage, like all of us. So,
and Tassadar is going to be messy. A lot of our mages are going to be messy.
Yeah, Storm. This seems like such an interesting time to add this hero because in my testing on PTR where I wanted to test both this new Tassadar and the changes that they made to structures, it was like perfect because like even if I was going into a quick AI game, because PTR queues are just horrendous, especially if you want to play Tassadar, like the AI would randomly walk into a storm that was just hanging out for 3 seconds and suddenly, oh, I need to worry about these towers, which just brought so many things so very quickly into perspective for me because when I read that the slow was gone from structures, I was like, that seems a little strange. And then like the second someone stepped into a storm and I started taking hits, I'm like, never mind. If that had a slow on it, I would just be completely screwed, like in so many scenarios. So
it was the right call.
Yeah, getting rid of that just makes the kind of diving in and out, like quickly jumping in and out to try and like land abilities on forts. It was really interesting. I like that a lot, like that the slow is gone because like if you're trying to get in range to drop a blizzard, drop a flame strike, drop a psionic storm, you know, it might lock onto you. And if you were slowed, that'd be a big problem. But now you're doing this little dance to try and land some AoE abilities on structures while you're sieging. It's cool. I like it.
Well, and minor point there, or actually big point for apparently the majority of the player base, AI is pretty vastly improved. They went through and reordered the trees like they said they were going to do, changing their tactics and goal system. The follow behavior is now better. They take objectives, they well at the correct times, and they'll put together ganks together with fellow AIs. That thing has actually changed quite a bit on the PTR.
I put it on veteran because I was like, I just want to get into a game and I want it to at least feel a little bit like a game. And the AI is solid. I disrespected them twice, and I died in both occasions on Tassadar. I was like, I'm just gonna stand and deliver this beam. Nope. Suddenly there's a false dad that flew behind me, and it's just like, oh, I'm not used to the AI doing that. So yeah, if any of you out there are AI players, and we know you're out there, and we know you've been not the happiest with the state of AI for quite a while now, it seems vastly improved on the PTR.
Yeah, very impressive.
Also, I'm not as scared about people disconnecting now. Still scared.
Which is nice. And yeah, of course, it's always the balancing act. Because there is a world where the AI is better than your fellow bronze player. And you hope they disconnect.
I mean, that's not where I was taking this, but thank you, Kyle, for being the extreme case.
You're welcome.
It. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Zul, you get to move on to Zul?
Yep, let's talk Zul.
Okay, so Zul's getting a relatively minor nerf, although he's losing health, a decent chunk, going from 2,200 down to 2,080, and regeneration being brought in line the same. So you know they said that they are happy, like overall with how the rework has gone. However, he is overperforming. They said they are waiting for more data, but while they wait for that, they're doing reduction on health to bring him more in line. You know, anything that makes Zul easier to kill is good in my book. I don't personally think this is going far enough, but it doesn't sound like they think this is going far enough either. So I'm happy to be patient until they feel they have a better grasp on the situation with Zul.
I honestly think this is all you need.
Really?
Zul is so gankable. He is very squishy. When his shield is down, it is down. And it is not saving him from a lot when the counter picks are things like Sonya and other spell damage heroes. Locking him down is extremely easy outside of lane. It is hard for him to maintain skeletons, and they seem to spawn in rather safe spots on the sides or backs of heroes when you use a scythe. You're not putting this skeleton usually right in front of Li Ming to cause that orb to block. I think Zul is going to really struggle losing this health. This is going to be pretty dramatic.
See, while I don't disagree with you, certainly as someone who would love to play Sonya versus Zul in as many games as I possibly could, I don't think a lot of the Zuls that are playing safely are not putting themselves in precarious positions with their shield on cooldown. Or at least they shouldn't be. And if they are, it better be because they're looking on a mini-map and seeing that the enemy team is busy elsewhere. So like if you're like, yeah, it's a long cooldown on that shield, but unless you're playing like wrong, You're not paying attention to the game, or you're not paying attention to your own damn cooldown. Why are you getting caught out in that situation? I don't know. I don't assume all Zools are the quick match solo pushers that drive me crazy and just keep pushing and overextending.
Shields are equal to max health. This is going to have an effect. I think if they need to target one thing in the future, it's going to be mortal wounds. There is an early game pressure to Zool that makes him oppressive. If you can deal with it, it's a long road up to 20, and then mortal wounds, enemies hit by Spectral Scythe receive 75% less healing for 4 seconds, is your game changer. And there are such cool talents here. I almost just want that to be worse so that I can pick things like Cold Hand of Death and spawn random frost skeletons.
Your biggest concern with Zool is a level 20?
Yeah, because he gets there.
Okay, yeah, I guess that is fair. I mean, what is he but an XP machine?
Yeah, you lose all your forts and keeps. He manages to hold the line and take care of all the lanes while the team tries to get stuff done. And then you get out there with just ridiculous amounts of healing nullification, and you win the team fight and you go win the game. That actually might not be the case now with all the buildings and whatnot, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay. I guess time will tell. And then we also got a bit of an update to experience orbs, if I can find where the heck it went in these notes. There we go. Found thank you, Control F. Floating combat text for experience from earned from killing blows now has a unique purple color and displays at the position of the killed unit. Also, floating combat text from experience earned from experience globes remains unchanged. Can confirm this looks a lot better.
Yeah, it's nice to have these things pick up slightly farther out. That's
the pickup radius went up a 0.25 of its existing radius. So it's very minor, but it feels good, and it feels even better to me, Kyle. They addressed one of my biggest complaints. Experience globes that are actively traveling to a hero will attempt to follow more closely. I can't tell you how many times I've had to stop, turn around because I outpaced an XP orb, and it drives me crazy.
What I really like is they added a floating combat text, just a number pop-up anytime you get a last hit, a killing blow. So it's actually, it looks like it's kind of crit style. Normal XP orbs kind of loop and you get the little purple tiny number. These things are big and highlighted and bolded. So when you get a last hit, you feel rewarded even more for getting that XP. That's a good change.
Yeah. I like all of this. For sure. It was some good stuff. And you know what we didn't even freaking talk about, dude, is the fact that like we know what the next event is. It is a Dark Nexus 2, which I was personally surprised about. But Twitter, you were totally right. I think one of the first replies when I was tweeting out from the Into the Nexus account with that Ravenlord teaser was like Dark Nexus 2. And I'm like, but Greek gods. But yeah, it's Dark Nexus 2. The freaking like in-game screen while you're waiting for quick match and selecting your hero looks amazing. And have you seen these new skins? Have you seen Dark Nexus Deathwing?
He looks good. I gotta hand it to him. I didn't think you could improve Deathwing, so well done. Very cool look. Very Final Fantasy.
It's very cool. However, Kyle, and the public, inquiring minds want to know: is Dark Nexus Phoenix enough of a monster to make you, Kyle Fergusson, want to play him?
Phoenix, yeah, that's next on the list. Absolutely. He's got slows, he's got some CC. He is a ranged assassin in the sustain department, which is going to be very much ignored, I think, with Tassadar and everything. I'm thinking that's my main. I've actually been playing a lot of Valen ranked recently, funnily enough, just because the sheer lack of people who want to auto attack things.
Makes sense.
It looks good. It's all crystally. It's all sharp, and he looks good. Overall, I'm happy we have Dark Nexus back, and they've data mined the Greek event, so it appears that it might be hiding inside the whole season.
Yeah. It's I'm surprised how excited I am for the return of this entire aesthetic, because it was something I hadn't thought about in a while, but I think they're kind of nailing it with this.
It's a good look. The song is rocking when you log in.
Totally.
I really like the villain aspect. I've always, Disney does it with the cheesy t-shirts. I love it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then finally, Kyle, this was like minutes before we decided to do the show today. We got an update on BlizzCon, which is to say that there's not much of an update on BlizzCon. This went up like an hour ago. It's called A Note About BlizzCon over at BlizzCon.com. Oh, it looks like it went up 3 hours ago. But it's from Sarah Lynn Smith, the executive producer of BlizzCon, and basically saying they're not sure if they're going to do one this year.
It's fair.
So I guess confirmed that they were planning to do one this year, which some people thought was still in question. And I was like, no, y'all crazy. We're going to have BlizzCon until we're all dead. Like, every year from now on, it's too big of an event. But yeah, this doesn't really surprise me. I mean, this whole coronavirus situation just keeps going. And it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon, at least not in a way where it would feel safe to have large gatherings like BlizzCon. Whether or not it's going to extend as far as November when this traditionally takes place, I think we're all certainly hoping that is not the case, but it's up in the air. I mean, what do you think they're considering an entirely online conference?
I don't see why they wouldn't. Yeah, I think that thought has entered their minds many times, just with the ease of it, the control they have over that presentation after last year's, previous year's booze. You know, in a nice little isolated containment, everyone just ignores Twitch chat anyway, and you get your announcements out, you do your select interviews online and Skype calls, and you call it good.
Yeah, I would imagine I would imagine they would probably still sell a virtual ticket, like it would still be pay-per-view, except for like the opening ceremony, which is how they usually handle the actual event.
Probably.
So, and I also kind of hope they do, because they don't attend things like E3, which isn't even freaking happening. They don't usually do things like that. Like they usually save the majority of their big announcements for their own damn event. And so I hope they're at least considering alternatives. It would be rad if it didn't cost money to watch it, but I have a feeling it will, because it already does, whether there's a physical event or not. You look entertained. What's going through your mind?
I know how hard it is to present things. I know what it's like to read script and have to say certain things. Man, I'm so forgiving of creators, but man, I would pay double just to not have the table. That thing is so awkward.
The table?
The let's go back to the table with the three people talking and like trying to hang out on couches, but it's so awkward. It's like watching The Office, man. I just really can't do it.
It's very circa like 2005 E3 coverage, right?
Yeah, it's like fellow gamers, and I'm like, just like communicate to me like a human.
Look at us. We're so trendy, and we have stylists. Like,
it's weird.
It doesn't play as well in this, like post Twitch world we live in.
Yeah, well, and that's because we can go anywhere we want. We can find passion wherever we want. And I think that's maybe what really disturbs me is I always feel like I'm being lied to. And I get it, because they're presenting. Like, they have to cover all the games. There's no way they would care about all these games or even have enough knowledge to care about them. But it's just so awkward to me. I wish they did individual hosts, like the streamer guy who only plays Diablo, get him to host, like they do on the panels, right? You can't be passionate about everything. I love sportscasters. The tweak of a smile, the excitement in their voice about football, and they live and breathe it. That I can get behind. I can listen to them talk about stats all day and never once recoil. But
well, there's one thing I want to bring up. So you watched BlizzCon from home last year, yes? Or did you just keep up with headlines? Because
no. I did. I skipped a lot, but I did. Yes, participate.
Yeah, the thing with the virtual ticket is you can access and the thing with a physical BlizzCon is that there's panels happening all the time because there's multiple stages. Would they recreate that virtually? Because then I, from home, don't need to watch the awkward couch. I can just go to another panel that's happening in real time and tune in, see what's happening over in Diablo land instead of waiting for the next main stage event to kick off. So like in that way, like the virtual ticket is kind of cool the way it works like that. Usually I experience this when I get home and I'm catching up on panels that I missed. But I love that this is where you went with this because I so am with you, dude. I'm not a fan of the.
I'm so forgiving though. Stage. I mean, like, I want it to be out there, man, that like I know that this is a personal problem. They are doing their job and they're doing a great job at it. And I don't think I could do any better. I feel the same way about when pumpkin pie rolls around at Thanksgiving. I hate pumpkin pie, but I'm going to eat it because they're watching me.
What?
Grandma's watching me.
All right, two things. One, pumpkin pie is my favorite. I love pumpkin pie. I can't get enough of it. Two, why are you eating something you don't like, man? Don't get family shamed. Don't get family shamed. We make ours from scratch every year. If you were having Thanksgiving at our place, it would not offend us in the slightest if you're like, yo, it's not my favorite. We're like, all right, Han, we got you some Publix cupcakes. Here you go.
Yeah, well, you guys, we're all of age, but when grandma, and it's not your grandma, you're doing the house hopping. You ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah, usually it's a Christmas thing for me, not Thanksgiving. But yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Popping around saying hi to everybody.
You end up like at everyone's place for coffee, and you kind of like show up for all the desserts, and they always got to give you their version of dessert. And I'm just going, man. I'm just trying to get to the good panels. Just trying to get off the table.
This is on the same level of when we tell players that are clearly burnout, like it's okay to take a break. Okay, Kyle, why are you doing something that you don't like doing? Why? Why are you doing it?
Yeah, I'm lying. It's a dishonest act, but I've tried avoidance. I've tried like, oh man, hiding in the bathroom. You know what I mean? Just like faking the flush, and and you roll out and grandma's standing there, and it's not your grandma, but man, she's sweet. And you're gonna eat that pumpkin pie.
I'm rather fortunate that most holiday fixins I enjoy, except for ham. But everyone in my family goes turkey for both Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I'm good. I'm good to go. And now I cannot wait for the emails that goes, Garrett doesn't like ham? What is wrong with this man? But
it's salty.
That's the only upside.
Oh, wow.
I don't like ham. I really don't. I'm not doing a bit. I legitimately don't like ham.
You're good.
Yeah.
So, but my hope would be that we get a very efficient BlizzCon. If we get one that is digital, that communicates the information, that is candid with developers, maybe even the situation allows more developers to be in the limelight, and that we all stay at home and stay safe.
I keep coming back to E3, which is, I get the irony because it's not happening this year, and there were so many other kind of tumultuous things circling E3 that I was looking like it may never be another E3 again to a certain degree. But that's a talk for a different show. Maybe Weak Sauce, become a patron, you'll get it right away.
Yeah.
But when Nintendo announced that they weren't going to do like a live conference, that they were going to like do a pre-recorded thing that they put out during E3, it seemed weird at the time. And now the Nintendo Directs are like some of the most charming damn like delusions of video game information I have ever experienced. I'm a big fan. I now look forward to it. Even though when they first started doing it, I was like, it's weird. We've done it this way for so long. Why change it now? But it totally works. It gives them so much more control, and it honestly fits what Nintendo is now, right? And then last year Sony did it, and it totally worked. But
what I'm asking for is Keanu Reeves, right? Like someone who is passionate to walk out on stage, tell them I'm amazing. That was nice. Thank you, Keanu. And we ride their passion, and we lose the presenter nonsense.
I think we could lose all of that entire. You don't even need Keanu Reeves. You could just do the panels. Just do the panels and just cut back to individual interviews with devs to fill time, right? You've got all this, and you could, oh my God, do you know how much of that you could pre-make? Granted, leaves a lot open for leaks, but why not? So I would imagine, Kyle, if this is what this is leading up to, which is Theory Town, I would imagine there will be some sort of BlizzCon this year, whether it lives online or not.
I agree. Now, before we end the show, can we just look the gift horse in the mouth?
Oh.
You ready?
The stage is yours.
All right. It's a savage world. We're online after all. What's next? What happened? We get Tassadar. Looks like we're not getting a new hero. Looks like we might be down to 2 heroes a year. Tassadar clearly took a lot of graphics. He is very much done up. He is a new hero. You can see why we might not get the big Arthas re-art, because now we're seeing how much work went into Tassadar. Man, Arthas would look good with that much attention paid to him. But anyway, lots of people expected the XP orbs to be an anomaly that is replaced by another anomaly in full. Now we're combining anomalies. We have cleaned up the XP visually. We've now cleaned up towers visually, and we've added elements to change the game. What's left? What's next? What's on the table? What have people been asking for that needs to be the next anomaly?
A new tank or multiple tank reworks.
Okay. Certainly we have a world where ETC Johanna lead the draft and everyone else is draft dependent, which isn't necessarily bad, but tanks do feel restricted to first picking.
The tank where it feels like math. Like, this is just the way it is. There's a correct answer, and we just keep moving on under that understanding. When it comes to tanks, that's how it kind of feels to me. I don't think it's as dire as places like the forums and Reddit can make it seem at times. But I think there's a reason the community keeps coming back to that conversation about tanks. That anytime there's even the whiff of a new hero, people go, tank. It's like the friggin' seagulls from Finding Nemo.
Sure.
It's not all just angry people on the internet. It's people who are playing tanks that want more options. And I feel for them and have also felt that way when I'm called to tank. So I'm okay with 2 heroes a year if that's what it comes down to. Because the reworks, like this Tassadar, this is a new hero. This Tassadar, it feels familiar, but it's a new hero. You want a car analogy, Kyle? You know, I love those.
All right, give it to me.
You know, when like a car gets a complete remodel, new engine, new chassis, new body styling. Like think of
smoothie in the back, furry inside, like when that show.
I was thinking of Mustangs in the 90s, Kyle, those boxy things. Okay. Or like the fish-looking Camaros from the late 90s, and think of Mustangs and Camaros now. Like that difference. Like it's like same in name, familiar in a certain way, but a whole new bag. And that's how this Tassadar feels to me.
The trucker show was the best, though.
Ice truckers?
No, that was a trucking show. The one where they redo people's trucks and like make them outrageous, full of TVs and stuff.
I mean, you're describing Pimp My Ride with trucks. So
yeah, no, there was a show like that. But Pimp My Ride was like, hey, we took your ride that you might use to commute. No, this was like Pimp My Truck.
Impractical.
But we would make it like livable, like it was insanely, like it was an apartment. We'd make it into something that you lived in because you do live in it. And that was they would like cry. These trucker men would cry, and I'd be like, that's so sweet.
I've never seen the show. It actually sounds really interesting. And if anyone out there knows what the hell it's called, I would like to go watch it.
It might just be Pimp My Ride Trucker Edition.
Anyways, that's my analogy. It's like a completely new version of the same car. It's like, oh, this looks familiar. You know, if he was a muscle car before, he's still a muscle car now. But just like the tech and the way it all functions is just light years beyond the way it used to work. And
sure,
I'm really excited about this Tassadar rework. Like, really freaking excited. And like, which means they're like on 2 hits for me now because I am in love with Nuzul. My biggest complaint is I can't freaking get him in draft. That's okay. That's a good complaint to have. It means it was successful. And Tassadar is the same way. I really like what I was trying. Now, I'm probably going to make you mad because I'm pretty sure all I'm ever going to want to do is auto attack build. But we'll see. It's
fine.
Such a cool kit. It feels like an entirely new hero. And if we were getting 1 new hero a year, but multiple reworks of this caliber, which is certainly, it looks like that could be very much the world we live in when it comes to Heroes of the Storm. I think that's enough. Because I still have yet to be bored with this game. the rate of updates still surprises me.
Trick my truck on CMT. Thank you, Gravitic.
How did you ever end up watching that?
Roommates, man. Roommates.
Oh, so it's that old. Okay.
Yeah. It was an old show.
Wow.
I agree with you. We know Diva's on the way. We definitely know they feel the pressure to create another tank. If we remove Deathwing and Zool from the world, maybe Tassadar as well now, we ban ETC Johanna at the start of every game.
Wait. You think
in higher lane?
You think you're going to ban Tassadar? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, we always do. It's something new, confusing. We ban it. We get confused in ranks. We don't want to see the new thing we don't understand.
That never crossed my mind. He doesn't seem that although Wall, man, having Wall out the gate. It's such
we ban Orphea, we ban Kira, Kira was overtuned for sure, and she had that bleeding bug.
Yeah, Kira was overtuned.
But every time there's a rework or anything, bans in the high leagues go out to them just to make sure we don't see something we don't understand.
Yeah, but that's why this is interesting, right? If this goes live next week, which it probably is going to, what are you letting through?
Yeah. Well, right now, what I'm saying is we're letting through tanks. If balance was perfect, let's say there was nothing more bannable than anything else and we had no map picks, we'd be banning ETC Johanna every game. Because the chance of having the enemy not know a tank is higher, and we've restricted a lot of CC already and lane clear,
and we're already seeing
both those heroes.
And we're already seeing tank restriction happen late in the draft.
Yeah,
it's already happening fairly regularly. So again, tanks to me seem like they should be in the crosshairs next for adjustment.
What about Anomaly? What's left on the map?
Anomaly.
Is there? Yeah, we've done buildings, we've done XP. Like these are the big complaints in my book. Wells, I think, are the only thing left that people have really harped on, and I mean that in a positive way. The well situation can be silly. What if we just added to the call for help? If you attack a well, it gets mad at you too.
I think I'd be okay with that because you can, if you get the front wall down, you could attack the well safely, and you put some effort into that. I'm okay with that. I'm still just the Hanamura Wells, man, biggest tilt factor in the game right now. Nothing is immediately coming to my mind. Do you have something?
No, I don't feel like we don't need the Sapper Wizard anymore. I feel like XP laning is going to be very interesting. It's going to be tight. Those lanes are going to feel real small with towers being as powerful as they are.
Well, that's a thought. So my brain goes to mercenaries. What can we do there?
Yeah, exactly. That's where my thought goes.
The landscape is going to change if this tower change sticks or sticks around in at least some in some measure. Maybe they end up adjusting it like they did the XP orb. This does not seem as problematic to me as XP orbs. This does not seem as complete, like, flip everything on its head as XP orbs were in their initial form. So this to me, I could see working and like staying as is. And beyond that, I'm sure if there are bigger concerns and the data shows that on their end, I'm sure we'll see some tweaks. But I'd rather believe in this direction. I like these changes overall. As I said multiple times, that's my first impression today. But it's going to change the landscape, and that to me would be a cool way to do this because I feel like pushing is going to be kind of tough. Making a dent. Building your road to victory, building that road to actually being able to attack the core in the first place is about to become more difficult. And an interesting way to address that, rather than walking back the anomaly we're about to hit, is with the next anomaly bringing a little bit more of a threat to the lane. And so mercenaries is the first thing that comes to my mind. It wouldn't be as well. Then no. I was thinking, anomaly is something that like affects everything like equally, but this is an anomaly with some really bespoke pieces to it in the core abilities. So why not? Why can't mercenaries be in an anomaly where we go mercenary by mercenary and make rather big changes? What those changes would be, I don't know. I'll probably have a much better grasp on the situation a couple of months into this anomaly to kind of give you my ideas as someone who really likes landing and really likes taking down structures about where I'd like to see some tweaks to mercenaries.
Sure. Good answer. I don't expect anybody to have a concrete look into the future right now. This is going to be wild, and I welcome it. And I'll certainly be on my own stream working through what I'm going to be doing. This changes the number of times I just go for a final swipe in tower range on Mount Gannis. It's wild. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Thanks everybody for listening. If you want to write in, we'll probably be bringing mailbag back next week. itncast@gmail.com is the place to do so. If you're a patron, you can drop us a question right there in the patron Discord. Speaking of our patrons, thank you so much for the support. You should head on over to patreon.com/ITN if you want to become a patron. And huge thanks to our producers, Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, Mike C, and Eric C. You can catch us live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/AMOVTV. Come join our wonderful live chat. Got a lot of you in here today, hanging out, being constructive, positive people.
Yeah.
For the most part. You know, it's okay. You have a bad game, you want to talk about it? That's totally fine too. Don't always have to be positive. Not all of us can be Kyle, is what I'm trying to say.
Just don't put that on me, man. Wait. We're all doing our best.
Oh, it's on you, man. It's on you. I know you're human. And which is why I respect you all the more when you keep it in check. So, anyways, yeah. So follow us on Twitter also, by the way, at ITNcast. If we ever have to change times or anything of that nature, you'll be able to find out there. But Kyle, before we go, where can everyone find you and all the awesome that you're putting out into the world?
You can find me playing those Heroes of the Storm games over at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. You can also find my games in VOD form as well as live stream on the Heroes Hearth channel where I do 5 stacks. Get that, gang. You are also able to find me talking Dungeons and Dragons on DMGI. DM gives inspiration. And this last week we talked about making custom monsters. And a lot of this is based on playing online right now for those games that have had to move into the digital.
Nice. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. You can follow me on there. Everything is over at amove.tv. Because of Demon Hunters running a complete muck in Hearthstone, we moved Angry Chicken to today after Into the Nexus. So immediately after I am done with this, I'm going to go and record a big fat post-launch episode of the Angry Chicken. So if you are into Hearthstone, if you're curious about just what in the shit is going on with Demon Hunters right now, because they were basically unbeatable for 2 days. The closest we've ever come to a truly unbeatable class or archetype. That happened, and they very quickly nerfed it last night, which is why we were like, well, we're moving the show. Go subscribe to The Angry Chicken, wherever podcasts can be found. We'll keep you up to date on Hearthstone. I've been playing a lot of that as well. And whew, it's crazy over there. If you think, the changes they just made to that game, it's on par with this insane anomaly coming in to the towers and structures here. It is nutty. The Blizzard games I enjoy, they are on fire right now. And even like World of Warcraft, which is kind of like, you know, it's there. We're waiting for the next expansion. Alpha's about to come.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's perfect timing with how we are right now. We shouldn't be going out. We're stuck inside. I for one, welcome our Blizzard update overlords.
Play some video games.
Yeah. So if any Blizzard players that are listening, please excuse any of my harsh criticisms from here on out and accept my sincerest thanks for keeping me entertained during all this. So it's going to wrap it up for this episode of Into the Nexus. Until next Thursday and next episode, good luck and have fun, everyone.
Take care.
That's a show.
Nice. You got to run?
I got time.
Okay. Well, then we shall post and whatnot. Chat, it was a pleasure seeing you all here today. And thank you for all your comments about the talks. Of course, this is all up in the air, so it was great having the opinions in the background as well as we went through all this. Next week will be Not Paradox, so we should have some more refined thoughts by then, and we'll be playing this thing. But yeah, good to see y'all. Glad you're all doing well.
It'll be a good one. Definitely tune in next week. But I'm going to bring the stream down, and then it will be back up in roughly an hour for the Angry Chicken. It'll be up as soon as Jocelyn can join me, because I would like to eat dinner at some point, but probably an hour from now. So see y'all soon.